Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over a very entertaining email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy. He is 39 years old. He's been married for 5 years to his wife who's 29, I think. And long story short, this story is going to show what happens when a guy who watches this type of material has a situation at home with his wife. You're going to see in this story, guys, how he had to definitely use his R-pill knowledge to obviously set things straight. In this story, and you're going to see how he describes his wife, she is a very traditional, feminine woman. The type of gal that we would all want. She's actually also foreign. She comes from Sweden. And it sounded like they have a great thing going and all that. And he definitely loves her. And then one day, they go on vacation. They go down to Florida, down to the beach one day. And while on vacation, like a lot of people, they start talking to the people around them. And this couple started hanging around them. And the couple is the exact opposite of them. This guy's a masculine, alpha type of guy. He's RP'd. While the couple, the man was the exact opposite. Totally blue-pilled. And the wife was a ball-busting, wait for it, effeminist. And essentially, she, in just a matter of a few days, started putting some ideas in his wife's head. Trip ends, and you're going to see what happens when his wife, who's very feminine, traditional, doesn't act like a lot of these American women, starts behaving like her. What happens? It is very entertaining. And you're going to see, guys, this is a perfect example of what I talk about. How it's so important to pay attention who your gal hangs out with. Wife, girlfriend, fiance, whatever. Because they're going to have an influence on her, for better or for worse. Okay? Also, you're going to see how a man always has to lead. He has to be the lead in the relationship. And traditional feminine women want the guy to lead. Okay? They really do. It's just the feminists that don't want that. Okay? And you're also going to see why it's so important for the guy to lead. Because a lot of times, I've compared, not all, but a lot of women's behavior sometimes, and I'm emphasizing sometimes, in a way of acting like bratty small children. And so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when they behave like bratty small children to be the ones leading the relationship. Not a good idea. And how just like children, when children behave in that way, a parent has to lay down the law and not budge. Because if they cave to the testing and drama, it's not going to go very well. And you're going to see here in that situation. And there are many other things here, but you guys will definitely find this entertaining as I go through it. So, it begins. He says, Dear SSM, I've been watching your channels for a while now and have always considered myself just a spectator, as I never guessed I'd have to apply some RP tactics to my sweet own wife. Let's call her Natalie. Bro, this is why I do this. It ain't just for entertainment for guys to listen to on the way home or to work. It's to teach guys about what's going on, things that work, things that don't work, and in the event that a situation arises that are similar to the stories I share, you'll know exactly what to do. And right here. She is 29 and I am 38. We've been married for 5 years now and have 2 adorable kids. I must say, in those 5 years of our relationship, she's been almost perfect. I am a Texas man and her family is originally from Sweden. But have lived here in the US of A for about 20 years. It wasn't by design that I married a foreign woman, it's just who I fell in love with. Well, probably as a masculine Texas man, which takes manliness to a whole new level, I've been to Texas and I've known Texas guys, not a whole lot of feminine gals out nowadays, huh? Given, thanks to the feminist movement. So it's no wonder you, with a chick that was foreign. She's been here for 20 years, but you get my point. She was born overseas. Natalie has always been soft-spoken, attentive, classy. She's an excellent homemaker and mother, and I can't forget beautiful. She is also a bit introverted, which I like because it limits her interaction with some Western women. Yeah. Also, guys, I forgot to mention here, this guy takes care of everything. All the bills. It's important later. Our trouble started with one summer vacation excursion. As COVID restrictions had been lifted, I took my family to the whitest beach I could find within driving distance. I don't trust flying just yet. We went to Panama City Beach, Florida for 5 days, and we were having a blast. This is until our trip to Shell Island. The little island is a short distance from the mainland by boat and is loaded with shells. We thought it'd be fun for the kids to collect them. While on the short boat ride, we met another couple from Texas. They were in their 50s. Let's call them Jack and Hilda. Okay, so they're in their 50s. almost double his wife's age. Well, 45%. They initiated conversation and Hilda would not shut up. Sounds like a typical effenist. I could tell she played the more dominant role in the relationship as she seemed fond of giving Jack orders, which he happily followed. Pass this, bring that chair over here, or get that. Even when we got to the island, Hilda trailed behind us, engaging in conversation with Natalie. After we collected enough shells, we set up our chairs and umbrella and tried to enjoy lunch with the kids. Notice he said tried to enjoy it. But there was Jack and Hilda, still right up our asses. I couldn't wait for the boat to get back to collect us. You've been on vacation, guys, whether you go somewhere or you're on the plane, and people start talking to you, and you're polite at first, but they won't leave you the hell alone. I've had times where I've been very abrupt with pretty much like, okay, nice talking to you. I've never gone so far to say, leave me the fuck alone, but I've been pretty close to that. I eventually tuned Hilda's chattering out and focused on looking at the shells with my kids. But one thing she said jarred me back to the conversation. I don't even know what initiated her comment. All I heard was, oh, when Jack does that, I make him sleep on the couch. Jack and Hilda both laughed, but I could tell this was not info he wanted shared. My wife joined them in the humor, but I know her well. I could see the gears turning in her head. Guys, this is not a guy that a wife said, if she's mad about something, says, you're sleeping on the couch. And none of you should be. Especially if you pay all the damn bills. No, we're going to talk about this problem. I'm not sleeping on the couch. If you're pissed off about something, you can go sleep on the couch. Oh, really? Natalie asked, and he sleeps there? Hilda looked shocked at my wife's question. Well, honey, he doesn't have a choice, she declared. Natalie seemed amazed, and I made a mental note to check that shit right away if it ever reared its head in our relationship. Fast forward about 3 months, I'd forgotten about the annoying trip to Shell Island. Life was good as usual. One day, Natalie came and sat next to me in my office. She was smiling big. Apparently, she exchanged contact information with good old Hilda, and they'd been corresponding. Oh, great. Now Hilda was inviting Natalie to visit their ranch for a weekend. Now, what I tell you about pay attention to who your girl hangs out with and the influence, she's been corresponding with a ball-busting effenist who bosses her husband around, and he willingly does it. The last thing I wanted was my wife being influenced by some chain smoking, I never saw her smoke, but her voice was indicative, aging ball buster. No, absolutely not, I told Natalie. And let the tests begin. She asked why, and I gave a very blunt explanation. Of course, Natalie tried bargaining with me, then pleading, and when that didn't work out, she was furious and stormed off. Sounds like a little kid that didn't get their way. The day progressed, and Natalie didn't speak one word to me. We had dinner, watched a movie with the kids, and put them to bed, and I went to my office while Natalie disappeared upstairs. Nearing 11 p.m., I decided it was time to turn in. I checked the house, then head upstairs. I'm a big guy, 6'4", 200 pounds. I guess Natalie was still up and heard me coming up as when I neared the top of the staircase. I saw my pillow and blanket tossed out the bedroom door right before the door shut. Gee, where did she get that idea from? And in the entire history of their marriage and being together, has she ever done anything like that? I'm guessing no. But she hangs out with Miss Ballbuster for an afternoon, and now they're corresponding, and now all of a sudden she's pulling this shit with a alpha male Texas man. Who pays all the bills, I might add. I stood there for a few seconds in disbelief. I know this woman didn't just kick me out of my own bedroom. I advanced up the steps and tried the door. It was locked. I said, Natalie, open the door. But I was extremely annoyed at this point. She said, you have everything you need out there. You can sleep on the sofa tonight. Does she know who she's messing with? Again, I took a few seconds to level myself. I could literally see Hilda's grin in my mind. Open the door, Natalie. I'm not going to ask you again. Silence. I waited, thinking the silence meant she was making her way to the door to open it. But after 10 seconds, it was obvious Natalie was ignoring me. Okay. I stepped back and kicked the door off its hinges. Natalie screamed and jumped out of bed. You told her. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? She kept asking me, mixed in with what I assume was Swedish profanity. It's amazing when people are pissed off, they immediately go back to their native language with cursing and swearing and all that. Calmly, I picked up my pillow and blanket and went to lay on the bed. I built this house, I pay the bills, and I'll be damned if I can't even sleep in my own bed, I told her. If you have some emotions you need to work out alone, you sleep on the sofa. In a huff, she pulled her pillow from the bed and left the room. Good for you, bro. I'm sure you would have done this before even watching content like mine. Never, ever accept that, guys. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. I slept like a baby. Morning came and I was up at my usual 5 a.m. It was Saturday morning. I went to look in on the kids and found Natalie sleeping in bed with our 4-year-old daughter. I laughed and set about repairing the door. For the next 2 days, Natalie gave me the silent treatment and slept in our daughter's room. By day number 3, I had enough of this game. That and it had been about a week since we last been intimate. She didn't get her way, now the silent treatment. One of the ultimate manipulation tactics. How is she behaving here, guys? Is she behaving in a way like an adult having a healthy conversation, talking it out? No, she's behaving like a damn kid. The only thing she hasn't done yet, unless it happened and he didn't mention it, was her stomping her feet like a child. After dinner that night, she was tidying up the kitchen, and I brought in the last of our plates our kids used. I came up behind her at the sink and said in a level voice, "You're sleeping in our bed tonight," and then I left the room. I spent some time with the kids before putting them to bed. I noted my wife's neatly folded blanket and pillow on a chair in our daughter's room and took them back to our room with me. As I was entering the bedroom, Natalie was exiting the master bathroom. Fresh out of the shower, she was in her robe and her hair was wet. Seeing her like this almost made me lose my cool and beg forgiveness, but I held my resolve. Bro, if at this point, if you beg for forgiveness, number one, I'd slap the shit out of you. But number two, everything you've done will be for nothing. Because she'd won. She'd realize, you know what? I can pull all this childish shit and eventually he'll cave because he just saw me coming out of the shower with a towel wrapped around me, imagining my naked parts, and he wants some. That's the power and leverage they can have over their guy. But I'm glad you stayed strong. I get you love her, and I get you're tired of these childish games, and you want to make things right, but she's acting like the a-hole here. And you had good reason to say, you're not hanging out with that lady. Oh, hell no. Natalie saw me place her blanket and pillow on the bed, and she made a beeline for them, picking them up and heading for the door. I blocked the doorway. There was a defiance in her eyes I'd never seen before, courtesy of Hilda, no doubt. Our gazes locked for a good minute before I stepped to the side. I want a wife, not a roommate, I told Natalie. If you can't be my wife, then we need to end this. With that, I headed for the shower. Good, bro. There's no confusion at this point on her part. You gave her a few days to cool off. She's still playing this game. It's a battle of wills. And again, like what's going on here, it's like a little kid. A little bratty kid who didn't get their way, and they're testing mom and dad. And you parents out there know you cannot give in. Ever. Or it's going to be, you'll be dealing with this shit all the time. And remember, women will never, ever love a guy they don't respect. And if a guy is a pushover and puts up with their crap, and when they pull tests, because this is a major, major test, and he fails, there are going to be more tests. With that, I headed for the shower. While in the shower, my heart was racing because I knew that there was a possibility that when I exited the bathroom, Natalie would be back in our daughter's bed. I'd be left to carry through with my promise. I'd call her father, her parents live about 20 minutes away from us, to come collect her. I'd explain the situation and see what happened after that. My biggest concern was our kids. I exited the shower, and to my relief, Natalie was in our bed. We have a king-size bed, and she had inched herself as far as she could to the edge without falling off. So even though she hasn't left the bedroom, and she's in the bed, she's as close to the side of the bed as she can. This is still her defiance. She even gone to the trouble of rolling a quilt and placing it vertically in the middle of the bed, as if a partition of down bedding was going to stop me from touching her. Another rebellion, putting up a big barricade. Like, okay, a-hole, I'll be in this bed, but you ain't got to touch me, and I'm going to put up this big wall between us. The testing continues. I knelt in the bed and looked at her. Her back was to me, and had the covers pulled all the way up to her chin. I laughed. This is all it took to set her off. That's what you have to do, guys. Your relationship, guys. I've been in a fucking relationship in my life to know these games. You get old enough, you live long enough and deal with them, you know what to do. And you gotta laugh. When they're acting like children, you gotta laugh, because that'll make them more crazy. If you get mad and yell and carry on, they got to you. She sat up and said, I'm glad you think this is funny. I motioned to the rolled quilt. What's this? What does it look like? She replied. That's your side of the bed, and this is my side of the bed. I snatched up the quilt and sent it flying across the room. It hit the dresser, scattering her row of perfume bottles that she had on a glass tray. I'm picturing this whole scene here. Before Natalie could react to that, I firmly but gently looped an arm around her waist and pulled her to me. Are you done playing games? I asked as I started kissing her neck. She smelled so good. Natalie just turned her head and said she wasn't in the mood. I told her it's been almost a week. She just shrugged. I interpret this as, that's your problem. Honestly, this hurt me. I didn't understand how she was allowing some random woman we met on vacation to change her behavior this way. Nevertheless, I knew if I didn't set boundaries and lay down the law now, I might wake up one day and be like Jack, happily getting my balls busted on a daily basis. Exactly. Women don't respect weakness, and when men are pushovers and cave, there's more bullshit until the relationship is like that couple you met on the vacation. Let this be a lesson to you guys, for you married guys or relationship guys. I turned her chin, making her look at me, and I said, so you're denying me intimacy because you're upset over something that happened days ago? And I asked that in an even tone. At this point, and unexpectedly, the tears started swelling in her eyes, and she was sobbing. Why are you being so mean to me? She cried. Remember, the last line of defense, the tears, which most guys, it is their last line of defense. It's like the capital. There's a war, and you have other cities that the enemy has to try to take, and there's the capital. And the final defense is, for a woman, it's the tears, which gets most guys. Why are you being so mean to me? She cried. I was slightly taken aback, as I was well aware how much effort I'd been putting in over the last few days to maintain my control and composure. Dude, you handle yourself very well. I'm sure you want to start screaming and spinning around like the Tasmanian devil and freaking out, but you have to be cool. Mean to you? I asked. Have I ever raised my voice to you? She shook her head and said no. Have I ever hurt you? Again, she indicated no. Do I provide for you? Do I give you whatever you want within reason? She nodded yes. Okay, I said, then please explain to me how I'm being so mean. Natalie continued to sob but had no response. Right, because she has no logic here. It's all emotion. And whatever's up her ass at the moment. I mean, shit, is it her time of the month? It's a reasonable question. Somebody's got to be thinking that aside from me. Or she just wanted to test your strength. I got up, went into the bathroom, and retrieved a box of tissues and handed it to her. I honestly could not understand what she was crying about, so I stood there watching her until the tears stopped. Calm now, Natalie sat glaring up at me. Maybe she expected me to comfort her or pity her. I don't know. I love my wife, but I found this whole thing silly, and I had another agenda. I pulled a tissue from the box and dried the tears in her face. And he says to her, I intend to make love to you tonight. Is that going to be a problem? I asked. Natalie looked shocked, but after a moment, she shook her head. She started out cold and unreceptive, but in under 5 minutes, all her defenses had been lowered, and she was soon melting in my arms. Now, if he would have said the entire time of the loving, she was unreceptive and all that would be something else, but the fact he said flash, she melted in my arms and all that. So she was receptive of this, guys. Let's just make that clear. After that night, things went back to normal, and thankfully there was no more mention of Hilda. Natalie and I did have a long discussion about what transpired between us. She says she realized how wrong she was for allowing a stranger to almost ruin our marriage. She's no longer in contact with Hilda, and I'm really hoping my sweet wife has returned to me. But this was a lesson. It taught me to keep a watchful eye at all times and the importance of checking shit right off the bat. Ding, ding, ding. I want to thank you, SSM, for your content. It really helped me identify and contain the situation before it got too out of hand. Bro, that was a hell of a good story. Very entertaining here. And yeah, you handle that like a boss. And I'm proud of you. And so this is exactly why it's so great that you guys send me your stories. And even if the stories, you make dumbass mistakes, whether it's recent or in your past, these help guys out right here. You know what to do. He handled this like a boss. And right there, how she was behaving like a freaking child. And again, I'm sure he wanted to start screaming. But he kept calm and cool. And after 3 days of BS, that's it. I'm laying down the law. And he said, nip in the bud, check them. Nice guys always do two things. Nice guys never check women on their BS, and they also make them the center of the universe, put them on the pedestal. They put all their wants and needs ahead of their own, and that never works. It always leads to disaster. You got to check them. Just like a kid, when a child is behaving like a little shithead, you have to check them, and you have to draw up boundaries and let them know that they're not going to cross the line, and you don't budge. You can't budge. It's the same thing here. Women do not respect weak guys. Now, if sincerely this guy did something really awful, it was truly being a whatever you can think of in the category awful, that is different than she's upset. Okay, fair enough. But he was not. And he knew this woman was trouble, and she was. And there's no way he's going to allow that shit in his house. And there's no way he's going to allow that be his marriage. And it'd be better to be divorced than to have to be like that couple that this dude met on vacation. So great story here. And so, bro, I really hope that you have a great marriage. And this goes to show, by you being strong, being the leader, keeping your calm and all that, I'm willing to bet you that once you guys talked it out, she's probably been even more affectionate, more sweet than ever. I'm willing to bet that. Unless she met another nut job effing us on vacation, or at the freaking at the spa, or at the freaking gym. But again, pay attention to who they hang out with. The influence that can happen just in one day, right? So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below and let me know what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think. Give this guy a shout out in the comment section for handling this like a boss. He's definitely an inspiration to many. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.